So in this video, we're going to look at the welfare effects of a subsidy. So let's start out with a simple graph, like usual, of supply and demand. And here's the supply, here's the demand, here's the equilibrium price, and here's the equilibrium quantity. So let's imagine we're going to put a subsidy on a good. A subsidy works exactly like a tax in that it puts a wedge between what suppliers get and what demanders have to pay. But unlike a tax, where the demander is going to pay more than the supplier gets, with a subsidy, that's going to be reversed. So the supplier is going to get more than the demander pays, because the supplier is going to get the price plus the additional subsidy on top of that. So again, a subsidy is going to put a wedge in, but a wedge is going to be on this side of the curve instead of the other. So it's going to be a subsidy of this size that places a wedge between supply and demand. So let's take a look at what the welfare effects of this particular policy are. Well, let's label these areas A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Okay, so remember here under the subsidy, we have a new quantity, quantity prime, and we have two new prices, the price that the supplier gets and the price that the demander pays. So before the subsidy, the consumer surplus was equal to the area above price and below demand, so that's equal to A plus B. Before the subsidy, what the producers got was the area above supply and below price. So the producer surplus was equal to D plus G. Okay? Now, after the subsidy, the consumer surplus is now the area above price, okay? So above price and below demand. So the new consumer surplus is A plus B plus D plus E plus F. So all of those things together. And the new producer surplus is the area below the price that the suppliers get and above the supply. So the new producer surplus is equal to B plus C plus D plus G. So if we look at this, right? So if we look at this, producers are better off by this area B plus C. So producers are better off by this whole new area here. And consumers are better off by this area D plus E plus F. So consumers are better off by this whole area here. So it looks like both producers and consumers are made better off. So subsidies must make everyone better off, right? Well, the problem here is someone has to pay for these subsidies, right? So this cost for paying for the subsidies all comes out of government revenue. And how much do these subsidies cost? Well, remember, we have a subsidy of this size here, and we have that subsidy being paid on all of these goods here. So the total size of the subsidy is this entire area of the rectangle. So the government revenue needed to pay for the subsidy is B plus C plus D plus E plus F plus H. So it's B plus C plus D plus E plus F plus H. Well, the B and the C cancel out here, right, from the producer surplus. The D plus E plus F cancel out here from the consumer surplus, and we're left with this area H here. That's a cost being borne by government that no one gets back in either producer surplus or consumer surplus. So this area H is our deadweight loss. So just like with a tax, a subsidy ends up with deadweight loss in exactly the same way.